All right, here's Darkroom Booth, and we're going to first of all start off with email. So let me switch over to PowerPoint so you can see what I'm talking about. The first point we want to talk about is setting up an email account to send with. Darkroom needs you to set up an account that you plan to send the emails with. Now you can set up multiple accounts and use different ones for different jobs. The reason for that would be, for instance, let's say that you're doing a job this week for your company at a wedding, and you want those images to come from yourphotobooth.com or whatever your company name is. So you can set up your account for that. Then if you're doing a job next week for, let's say, a major corporation, Coca-Cola, Harley Davidson, who knows what, then you can set that up. If they want that to come from their email address, they can give you the information for an email account. You can put that information in, and then that would come from their email account. So it really depends on what job you're doing and how they want that email to come, but you can set up multiple accounts. But we're going to start off by setting up one. So I'm going to switch back over to Darkroom. Here we go. Now, first of all, the way you set that up is click on Global Settings right in the top right corner of the software, and then go to Email and Social Media right here on the left side, the Email and Social Media. Then in the top right corner, click on Add Account. Now you'll see New Email Account. So when you click on New Email Account, it's going to present you with this blank screen with all the email settings. Now the sender name is basically who you want to show up as this is who the email's coming from. So if it's, the name of your company or the name of the host, the bride and groom, whatever you want that to be coming from. Then the email address that you're using to send with. Next, the password that you're sending with, that email account. So you'd put in the password there. Then a description. A description is just so you know what account that is. Like, for instance, if it's coming from Coca-Cola, you'd put Coca-Cola. If it's coming from your company, you put our company. It's just a reference so that you know what it's coming from. Then down below, we've got information. Then the default is it's set to custom, so you can put in whatever information goes with your particular server. If you choose, let's say for instance, a Gmail account, then we'll fill in all of the information for that particular Gmail account. There's a number of pre-set up services that come with the software, Yahoo, etc., and you can put all those in. Or if you need to put in your own, you can choose custom, and that would be your server at your company, whatever your server information is. Now this information right here we can't really help you with. This information is information that would go, I just realized you're not seeing my, here we go, now you can see it. So this information you would get from your provider. So whatever company you're using to send the emails with, this information would come from them. So if it's GoDaddy, or if it's whatever at yourcompany.com, something like that, that information would come from them, and we can't really help you find that, but you find that out from your provider. So let's go back here just a little bit, and I've got one preset up here. It's a Gmail account, and I'm going to select that one so you can see. So here in the sender name I put Darkroom. And then the email address I'm using to test with, in this case, is darkroomsoftwaretest@gmail.com. And I've got the password there that I set up with the Gmail account. And then we've got in the description, Darkroom Test. That's just for my reference so I know what's there. Then all of the normal Gmail stuff is already pre-configured here. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind if you're using a Gmail or a Yahoo or any one of the free services. Most of those that are designed to use a web-based email client where you go into their website and log into an account in order to look up your email, most of those require you to set some sort of setting to allow outside software like Darkroom to access their server. Otherwise it won't work. So you'd want to go into those settings, log into your account there, and in most cases I think Gmail calls it less secure apps. They consider everything that's not their app less secure. So you would set that. It's usually just a checkbox to allow outside software to use that account. So once everything is set up correctly, you click Test, and you'll get this message right here if it's all correct. Outgoing mail connection OK. So what happens when you click on that test is we contact the mail server, that's listed here, and we present this email address and this password, and then it says, yep, that's a good email address and a good password. We're good. So if you click this and it says not good, if it gives you some sort of an error message, then something is not correct. It could be something as simple. I'll show you. Let's say I add an X in front of that. Now when I click test, you'll see I got message failed. Basically, there is no email address X darkroom software test. Okay, so if you click on test and you don't get this message, then there are several things that can cause that to happen. The most likely is either information here is not fully correct. It could be as simple as you typed the password wrong or you typed the email address wrong. So check that information. It could also be that you either A, don't have internet connection, or B, the internet connection you do have has blocked POP mail. Now POP stands for Post Office Protocol if you're a geek and wondering about that sort of stuff. But that's the type of email system that Darkroom has. And a lot of public Wi-Fis will block email addresses or email accounts on their private or on their public Wi-Fi because they don't want spammers using it to send out large volumes of email. So if you're using public Wi-Fi, that could be a problem. But those are the things that would prevent that from working. So this is what you want to see, the blue dot that says outgoing mail connection OK. So once we get that all set up, let's run back over to our PowerPoint and see what the next step is. We got that set up. Next, we're going to select email, photo to phone, or both. Those are the options that we plan on using to send emails with or send out when we do that. So let's go back to Darkroom. If you click right up here for back to events, then you're going to go back to the main output tab. This is the main output tab where you have all the options to choose what you're going to do with your session, what you're going to send out. So let's start with the very first one, photo email 1 and 2. Now you'll notice there's two of those, email 1 and 2. The reason we give you two of those is you might want to have the second one set to a static email address. Let's say the bride's email address, the groom's email address in a wedding event. If you want to send them every one of the emails. Now, personally, I think that's a little crazy because they could potentially get 200 emails with one image each. There are much simpler ways of delivering emails to them, but that's why we do have two of those there for you so that you can send that to them. So first of all, let's check photo email 1, and I'm going to click on that. Now these are the different settings that you can put in the photo email. So starting with the very top up here, we have our darkroom test. If you have only one account set up, then it should just show you the one account. If you have multiple accounts, then you'd click on this drop down and choose the one you want to send with this event. All of these settings are event specific, so you'd want to change that based on the event that you're using. The next option down here is 2. Now if you leave it blank, that's if you wanted to put a static email address. In most cases, you're going to want to prompt for the user's email address. Then the next option down here is the image size. So you can choose preview size, medium size, and full size, and also custom size. Preview size is very small. It's going to be grainy. It's going to be pixelated because it's intended to just see, maybe decent on a cell phone or something. Medium size is going to be a little bit better. Full size is going to be the full image size. Along with that better quality of full size is bigger file size. Typically not a problem with email unless you're paying for your data transfer by the gigabyte or something. But in most cases, full size is probably what you'd want to choose so you get better image quality. Next item down is you can add a template. This is a different template if you want to have the emails formatted differently than what is printed. So if you leave this blank, it's going to send it with the same template that is printed, okay? But if you want to send something different, if you want, maybe have a square or some other sort of shape that would be different than your printed item, you can add that template there. At the bottom of the screen, those are also options for animations. That's for GIF output. We'll talk about that in another video, but that's at the bottom of the screen. All the way back up in the top corner here, you'll see message. If you click on that, then this is the default message, enjoy your photos. Here you can insert any information that you want to come in that email with the photo. So you can have your company information, whatever information for your client. It's up to you. This is plain text. If you click right here on the HTML option, you can format a really fancy HTML design screen if you know how to do things in HTML. The default is just plain text. Okay, so we got that all set up. We've got all of our options set up. Let's click OK. So now what I want to do is go back to my PowerPoint and let's see if we got all of our, so we got our options selected. The next options, we talked about file size, template, and message sent. The next option is to set before or after the session. So let's do that. So let's go back to the screen, and if you go up here to the very top and click on we want to go to the text tab right here. So if you go down about the middle of the page, you'll see e-delivery, and this is where the message is added. The default message is where would you like to send the photo to you, and then over on the right of that you have prompt before session or prompt after session. That's just a personal preference, up to you whether you want them to be asked before the session for their email or after the session is over for the email. I'm going to set it to before for this demonstration, so we don't have to go all the way through a session just to see the prompt pop up. So now let's try a session and see how this works. So I'm going to click here. It's going to warn me I don't have a printer. So here's a basic screen, and you'll see my simulated live view there. So when I touch the button for color, you see it instantly pops up and asks me to enter my email address. And so there you can type in the email address. Now across the bottom row, you'll see that we have Gmail, Hotmail, and Yahoo pre-set up in there. We also have, and I'll show you where this is in just a second, but you also have the option if you're doing a job for a specific company where practically everybody there has an email address that has the same domain at the end, you can put that in the software, so you can just click on it and it enters it for you, and that makes it a lot easier than them having to sit down and type each and every one of those every time. So that's really good if you're doing something for a company. So now you can just hit enter and it'll send out the email. Now if you go, I'm going to back out of this for a second. If you go back over here to the prints tab and pull up the print queue, you'll see it's already gone. Now if you didn't have internet, if there was no internet or there was a problem in the pending jobs, you'd see error and the job just sitting here waiting. If you look over here, you'll see it would just be sitting here, and then you can use that as a tool to help you diagnose if there was no internet available, what the problem was, and why that one didn't go. But that's a good tool for that, is to look in the pending jobs tab. Okay, so right at the top, I'm going to go back to my event. So now let's look at a couple of other options. We can also use this. Let me get back to our settings and back to output. So in addition to sending by email, you can also use email to send to a cell phone. So this is where they put in their phone number, and then we in Darkroom take the carrier and add to the end of it the @ MMS, ATT, whatever is required by the carrier, so that photo can be emailed or sent to someone's phone by their phone number. So it works very similar to email as far as setup. You just check the box, photo to phone. Right up here, this confuses a lot of people. You'll see Twilio grayed out. If you have no Twilio account set up, then it will be grayed out. It won't let you click on it or change it. It's going to use your email address, and that's the default way. If you do have a Twilio account set up, then this won't be grayed out and it will default to your Twilio account. Today we're just going to focus on the email system. So over here you have the message. Only plain text, because a text message can only support plain text, so you can put in whatever information there that you want. Then you can choose your file size. Now, a word about file size. When you're sending MMS messages from outside clients, not from a cell phone to a cell phone, carriers are very restrictive because they don't want spammers sending large volumes of things. So they can be very restrictive on the file size that you can send. Probably medium would be okay in most cases, maybe preview size. You can also click custom size and type something in between if medium is too big but preview size is too small. Probably would not work with full size because the carriers are going to be very restrictive. And what you'll have happen is that people will be complaining they're not getting their emails, and the end result is if you go and look, if you check that email in that account, like the Gmail account or something, it will show you a bounced message, one that was returned for file size. So just be aware that text messaging, smaller file sizes are usually required. It also has the same option to add a different border if you wanted to, different template. So you can do all that. So now let's run a session and see what we have. When I click on Start the Session, now you see the prompt pops up and asks me for either email or phone, and I can choose either one. If I choose the phone, then it pops up this prompt and asks me for the carrier, and then I can put in the phone number, whatever the phone number is, and hit enter. So this works really good. The only problem you'd have here is if you wanted to send it to multiple people, they all need to be the same carrier. If you put in one phone number that's AT&T and another phone number that's Sprint, one right after the other, then it's not going to, the Sprint one's not going to go because it's selected AT&T, and Sprint won't recognize the AT&T appendage. So this particular system, it's great because it's free. There's no extra cost or anything, just your email account, but it does have to be all the same carrier when you're sending that. Okay? All right, so I'm going to back out of that and come out of that. So that's basically it to set up a email and a photo to phone. You can choose before the session, after the session, and so on. Let me go back here and review my PowerPoint to make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, so first of all, you want to set up your email account that you're sending with. That's done in Global Settings under the Email and Social Media Setup, and you'd set up your account and get the OK message that everything's good. Then you'd come to the Output tab and select Email or Photo to Phone, or either one or both, whichever one you plan to offer. Select the options like file size, template, and message sent, and then set before or after the session, and that's really about it. Now, I would strongly recommend everybody run tests for your own email systems and everything and make sure it all works for you before you go to the event. That's always a good idea. I know I say that a lot, run a test, run a test, run a test, but we do see a lot of people who wait till they get to the event and try to set something up, and they aren't sure and it's not working correctly. I will say something about Wi-Fi. I mentioned this earlier, that public Wi-Fi can be very problematic. So if it worked for you at home, but then when you get to the job it's not working, it's very possible that the public Wi-Fi you're using blocks email. If you ask the venue, they're going to say, oh yeah, we have internet available. Chances are pretty good they don't understand the difference and understand that you can have email blocked but still have internet. So I would always use my own hotspot, my own provided hotspot that I took myself, and not depend on a provided Wi-Fi there at the job to make sure. The good news is they do queue up, so if you don't have internet at that job, then the emails and everything just queue up and will get sent out to the customer. Once you do have internet available, you can just tell them, we don't have good internet here, but when we do, you'll get them later tonight or something. So I hope that helped everybody, and I hope you understand how to do email now. Certainly you can always give us a call at Darkroom Software and contact our support staff if you need help with all of that. Have a great day.